Right. Hello, everybody. Sorry, there seems to be, a slight delay with the internet. Sorry about that, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Challenges and Triumph of Online Teaching during COVID-19 at the Female Educators Roundtable with your host, Debby Enoe from Teacher Success Coach, and another educator from around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, everybody. Yesterday, I wasn't able to come on because my body was not cooperating. I wasn't feeling very well. I keep on talking about self-care, but I think I kind of asleep with my own self-care. As a result of that, my body was saying, nope, nope, nope. But I must say, I'm feeling a lot better now. Thank you. Not 100, but I'm feeling a lot better. So in terms of self-care, I cannot stress the importance of self-care enough. Although I keep on talking about self-care, I slipped. Right, so I'm back on track now. Right, so that's the reason why I wasn't on yesterday, and I had a few things to do. I wasn't able to do it because of, I wasn't feeling up to mark. But I'm back now, and welcome to another episode. Welcome to my guests. Welcome. Thank you very much for accepting the offer to come online to share your experience with us of the online platform. So I'm really grateful for that. As I keep saying to you guys that as educators, we were not trained on the online platform. We actually taught ourselves on the online platform. And I must say, educators, you've done very, very well. Make no mistake about that. It doesn't matter what anyone else says that, you're shy, you're this, you're that, you don't want to come, you don't want to go back to the physical classroom. Ignore all of that. You need to praise yourself. You need to embrace it. You need to don't be so hard on yourself because you've done well from knowing nothing on the online platform for actually learning a new skill. And I know some of my colleagues around the world have actually gone back into the physical classroom. Some of them have, and some of them have gone back online, and they've actually been telling me about the anxiety going online. But as I keep saying, the first time we've done it was the first phase. We're now doing the second phase. Look at it as the first time when you passed your driving test. You're actually practicing to drive in the first phase of that. The first 6 weeks, you're still practicing, You've got a license to practice and make the mistake. That's not a problem. So see the online platform like that. The first time we've made the mistake, you've learned from the mistake. The second time, you've actually used what you've learned to make it better. I don't believe there's anything as perfection, but you make it better. So you'll be better this time than you were the first time. So be confident that you know what to do, right? Okay, I've done my spiel. Welcome. Can you tell us what country you come from? Introduce yourself and the age group you taught during COVID. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Alicia and I'm from the UK, London. And I taught early years, so 3 to 5 years old, but mainly nursery. So I've got 3 to 4-year-old children. So the little ones, the ones that everyone's always like, oh no, how can you do it? But I absolutely love working with the younger ones because I just love their honesty. I love their energy. I just love the creativity that I'm able to express in my classroom. And I don't think I'll ever go back to Key Stage 1. And Key Stage 2 is just scary. It's actually very scary because half the children are bigger than me. And I don't understand what children are eating these days because I was never like that in school. I know I wasn't that big or that tall, or I just can't cope with how they are. Like for me, it's either Key Stage 1 or early years. Never ever Key Stage 2. Never ever. Never ever.
Wow. Thank you. I'm the complete opposite because for me, I need the older they are, the better for me because it means that they're more independent and my role would be empowerment, etc. Although the young ones, it's nice to have them young. You could actually grow, instill a lot of
get
things
to mold
in
them. I
mold them. That's the word. Mold them. That's the word I'm looking for.
I love that.
You could actually
especially when I have little
them.
boys in my class. Little boys will do anything for you. Miss, I've got one little boy who every day he brings me flowers, and one day he wasn't able to, and he cried, and I was like, sweetheart, what's wrong? And I said to him, I don't like you because you bring me flowers, and I like you because of you. I said, not because you bring me flowers every day. He's like, but Miss, I was like, it's okay, sweetheart. I said, just come in, and tomorrow you can bring me flowers. And oh, you know what? Why don't you draw me some flowers? Or I changed the lesson plan, and then we made flowers that day. I said, see, you still got to give me some flowers. So little boys especially, they love having a female teacher. And then also with young girls, they just love, yeah, young girls, yeah, the young girls in my class, they're always a fan of me. I've never had a student who doesn't love me yet.
That's
Yeah, I just love
fantastic.
teaching. I just love it, especially the younger ones. They're just so sweet. It's like being a superstar. It's like, I do say it's like being Beyonce, because I come in and I've got my fans. I walk across the playground, Miss, 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 and I love it.
I
I
like
love
that
that.
one. I like that one. It's interesting though, because something I usually say last, but I say it first. The interesting thing when people are saying to us that oh, educators, they don't want to go back to work, they're coward, they don't want school to reopen. Who do they think they're lazy, etc. But people need to realize our job's different, because you teach 3-year-olds. We're talking about runny nose, and you all
Yes,
constantly have a box of tissues that you always have to be catching this runny nose. You
thank
see,
you.
and there it is, isn't it?
What happened with before the school closures announced, what my school used to do was snack time because I've never had this before. Snack time was a case of the children go and help themselves, and for me, I'm a very very neat freak. I found it hard and I've got OCD. I did find it hard for children having to touch the fruit, and then I was like, what's going on here? So when it was happening, like say maybe late February, I decided to change snack time, and I said snack time should be a time where we all sit down together. We all go and wash our hands. Then I give out the fruit because I know my hands are clean. I've showed you how to wash your hands. And that's what fruit time should be. I was so flabbergasted when I saw fruit time previously was go help yourself. I was like, nah, that's germland. And even one little girl would say to me, Miss, I don't eat fruit in this classroom because that's how I'm going to get germs. Or she used to say, Mum says I'm going to catch COVID. And I was like, yeah, you will. I said, you will catch COVID from eating that fruit. And my school liked how I did snack time. Like I changed it because I was like, I'm not used to help yourself for snack time. That's craziness in my opinion. My way of doing snack time, I always every time in my classroom is learning time. Every opportunity is learning time. Even when we line up, I count the children. I might play a colours game. For me, learning time is constantly. We never ever waste a learning opportunity. So when I have snack time, I used to get them to wash their hands, and then we all sit in a circle. I give out the fruit, and then we talk. Especially for
Yeah.
the younger children, speaking and listening. Especially my cohort my previous cohort, because yeah, they've moved up. Speaking and listening was a huge target for us, especially our area. I have children that come in saying things like, "Do you have a dum dum?" What is that? I didn't have a clue what that was, and that's because of the area. Speech and language is something that we had to focus on. So for me and my colleague who I'm covering, we do a lot of speaking and listening throughout our sessions. And I take some children and I do it separately because people forget that when they're so young, we make a difference because we're the foundation early years because they move up through the school. They don't
Mm.
start off in year 6. So I do find it upsetting when people are like, oh, teachers are lazy, like you said, they're cowards. No, we actually do a really great job. And I wish that parents would, and other people that like to talk behind the screen, gave us more credit. I
Mm.
always feel like, hello, until you're doing my job, please don't
Mm.
question me. And until you're
Exactly.
in my classroom, until you're dead on your feet like I am by about midday and I haven't even had my cup of coffee yet, please leave me alone
Yep.
because we do a great job. And I think, actually, you know what? I've seen it. Parents are desperate. I saw it when I went for a quick walk before this show. There's desperate times now for parents. Parents are actually losing it because they finally realize that actually teachers aren't babysitters. We're not there to teach your children manners. We're actually there to educate, hence the term educators. And it all starts from home. The
Mm.
reason why I'm a fantastic teacher, well, outstanding teacher, to use what Ofsted says, is because of my foundation from home. I
Mm.
tell my
Mm.
class, manners are free, respect. These are things that they should learn from home. But unfortunately, I have worked with children that they do disrespect me. And I just say, no, not in my classroom. If you want to do that at home, that's cool. But when
Mm.
you're in my classroom, we don't disrespect each other and we
Mm.
don't disrespect our friends.
Mm.
And I do find that, yeah, parents right now are desperate. They're counting down. I saw a meme like a while back where a mum on the first day, she literally kicks the children out with her foot. And for me, that's quite a funny meme. But I think it's actually going to happen. I think parents are going to fly kick their children out the car when it's drop-off day.
Exactly. That's the reason why when we are questioning in relationship to, we haven't got enough PPE to go back into the classroom, they have this big fear that, oh, we might be teaching online. And as far as I'm concerned, I keep on reminding people, even though we teach online, we also have, and we questioning whether or not the schools are prepared. We are also human beings as well. So we have the same anxiety as parents have in terms of the safety of themselves and the safety of the children. So it's interesting, as you rightly say, parents are desperate. They're desperate, but at the same time, I feel that they have no respect for us, and the government have not helped by actually deciding to use algorithm to give the grades, undermining educators' ability to assess students. And that
I totally agree.
That's, I think it was out of order. And the sad thing about it is the education minister is apologizing to the students and the family and forgetting the person you really need to apologize to is the educators you undermined by allowing a machine to give the grades, feeling that our ability and our judgment wasn't good enough. So it's just a whole lot of disrespectfulness. And then why are we surprised when the masses disrespect educators when we are getting that from the ruler of the country?
Exactly. I keep saying to parents that I meet in the playgrounds, I said, I feel that Boris, he doesn't understand what he's done to our children. My daughter, she's very, very resilient, but even as, a 9-year-old, I've noticed a change. And I just think if she as a 9-year-old struggled with lockdown, how about my 3-year-olds? How have they coped? And when I used to do like the weekly check-ins, which we were doing before summer holidays, it was heartbreaking to hear my children ask me, Miss, when will I see you? Miss, why do we have to keep doing things online? Miss, when will I come back in the classroom? And it was heartbreaking having to keep saying the same line to my 3-year-olds. Oh, Miss will see you soon. Miss will see you soon. And I would come off the phone, I'd be in tears. The well-being calls were, I loved that my school did them, but they were also heartbreaking because once you came off the call from a 3-year-old who was begging to see you, begging to be in a classroom with his friends or her friends, and you had no answers for them. So I just feel that Boris didn't think anything through. Most of them didn't, like you said, they didn't think anything through, and they continue to disrespect us. They don't understand the job that we do. It's like anything. I would never go and tell a plumber what to do because I don't know anything about plumbing. I can read about it, but I could never go fix anything. I'd never.
Exact point. Nobody would tell any other professions what to do, nor would they disrespect the profession. But everybody feels it is okay to disrespect an educator. And what they're failing to realize is in everybody's life, we all had an educator in our life. Every foundation, every job starts with the input of an educator, whether or not it is primary school, secondary school, everybody had an educator at some stage in their life. Yet still, our job constantly disrespecting the job and the professionals who are leading the job. And I find it so annoying. Because nobody would, as you say, I would tell a plumber what to do because that's the plumber's job. Nor would I undermine the plumber. I would get another opinion from another plumber.
Exactly.
You see,
I don't get it when people love to tell me how to do my job. And I'm just like, hello, what did you come in? Like, especially when I have parents. I find it frustrating when I have parents that say to me, hey, actually do this for my child. I'm like, love, you can do that in your home, but this is my home. Actually, this is my classroom. If you're not happy with my teaching, follow protocol, go speak to the head or, who you need to speak to, and then leave. I don't have time for nonsense. Don't be telling me how to do my job because last time I checked, you weren't doing your job when I did the home visit and I didn't say anything. I kept my mouth shut. I sat there and I was thinking, ooh, what's going on here? Why is that child hitting you? And I'm thinking, that child's 3. And my daughter wouldn't even think to raise her voice to me. I'm thinking, oh, okay, but you're telling me how to do my job. And I didn't tell you how to parent. No, I don't ever tell anyone how to parent. All we can do is advise people and it's whether they choose to take that advice or not. And that's just a life lesson. So I found When people have like, a lot of my friends are like, oh, you're only in the job for sorry, for the money and also for the holidays. I'm like, you know what? Just be quiet, because if I have to talk to you, you're gonna learn today, and you don't want to. People look at me and think, oh, she's so quiet. I said, but it's always the quiet people you should watch out for. And the quiet
Exactly.
people, we have the most to say. So you should just,
Wow.
keep your opinions to yourself.
The
If you don't
money.
do the job, you don't understand it.
The money. Teaching does not, I keep on saying to people, teaching does not give us the Bentley
No,
or
it doesn't.
the big Mercedes
No,
or the big mansion.
no.
Teaching doesn't give us that. If any of us have that, it's either from the husband, a
Of
gift,
course.
or we have another job that is giving us that. We are all
Exactly.
in teaching because we feel we are going to make a difference to individuals' life. Teaching does not pay. Even the holiday is not even holiday. Once you're on holiday, you still
No,
pay lesson plan. People are
of course.
forgetting these things we're doing. Anyway, we're not mourning, we're just saying it as it
We're
is.
just stating facts. We're stating facts.
Exactly. What was it like for you actually? You started to tell us what was it like for you when you actually teaching online your 3-year-olds? What was it like?
I really, really loved it. So my school did a completely different system to my other friend's school. So what I loved was we stuck to our themes, which the children are familiar with because they're the same every year, but we changed the text. So our theme during lockdown was on the farm. And how we do early years teaching is that basically everything is based around the theme. So for on the farm, we introduced the old MacDonald nursery rhyme. That's just like that was like a lesson starter. Then we encouraged the children to familiarize themselves with farm animals, and then we started to introduce like the numbers and how they could do creative activities. But what we found was a challenge was the parents had no clue how to log on. The parents had no clue. It was the children who were logging on for their parents. I have a little boy who I adore. He's very high energy. He doesn't let me go to the toilet, but I love him. He is just the most wonderful little boy, and he helped his parents to log on. Because when I spoke to them, they were like, Alicia, how do we even switch the computer on? I was like, are you joking? Are you joking? But I think they actually generally didn't know. And especially for our English as additional language parents, they found it even more of a struggle. So I had two parents who were like, Alicia, we don't speak English. So I had to translate, which was very difficult. But once I was able to translate and I did explain, again, their child who is fluent in English was able to then explain how to use the online platform. Because I think a lot of people just took it for granted that people know how to use the internet or people know how to use a laptop or use an iPad. In my
Mhm.
classroom, I encourage the children to use the one iPad that we have. I encourage sharing. I do ICT. I also have a massive whiteboard. So my class are very familiar with technology. I guess if they ever found my phone one day, I'm sure they could unlock it too. I'm sure they'd guess my passcode. But we took for granted, I think, as a school, that parents did not have a clue. And
Mhm.
that's one of the challenges that I found, parents not being able to log on and having to ask either their older siblings, sorry, their older children, or even getting my 3-year-olds to ask their siblings. So that's what a lot of parents said to me. They found it hard to access the learning because it was just too much for them. They weren't familiar with technology because they're from a different generation.
Yeah.
And what I think that we can learn from this is, as well as having parenting classes, we need to start to do like ICT classes to inform parents of, you know, the dangers of the internet as well as the benefits.
Mm.
My daughter's school, one thing about them that I did enjoy was recently they had a parent meeting about what apps are safe and what apps are not. And what I found intriguing was one parent was like, my child's on that app, but I don't know what it is. And I wanted to burst out laughing, but I had to hold it in, Debbie, because I thought, excuse me, your child's on Instagram and they're 7 and you don't even know that's Instagram. I was like, Lord God, I didn't know what to say. And when the head, like he took over and answered her question, I was like, can I speak now? And I pulled her aside and I said, excuse me, a 7-year-old should not be on Instagram. I said, do you know who she's talking to? She was like, I don't know. I just give her the phone and I go to bed. I was like, oh, honey, we need to talk. And that's what I think a lot of people aren't aware of the internet and how it is benefit. Technology is wonderful, but we don't need to be reliant on it. There's other methods to get teaching done. But and also parents just weren't, for my parents especially if the EAL parents, they did not have a clue. And that's what I had to help them with. Once they understood how to use the online platform, then we were able to go forward. So my school did make it very, very simple. On a Monday, we would upload the week's activities, and then they were able to contact us if they weren't able to access them. And we made it optional because with early years, a lot of the sessions they're optional. So the children it's free flow. So children can choose what activities they want to do. I never ever force a child to sit down with me unless I'm doing a focus. So if I'm focusing on handwriting, or I'm focusing on name writing, or I'm focusing on maths, then I will say to them, come and sit down. But with how I operate, I know when a child's ready to communicate with me and when a child wants to just go and play. So if I've got one little boy, he runs from me. I love him to pieces. He's one of my favorites, but he runs from me. So I know that I let him do what he needs to do. And then I get the timer and I say, sweetheart, when the time is finished, now it's time to sit and do learning with Miss, because you've had your free time. Now it's my time for learning, because mommy won't be happy with me when she asks me, have you practiced your name today? And I say no.
Exactly.
And his mum, she was able to help all three of her children, because she's got him who's in for now reception, a daughter who I believe was in year 6, or sorry, year 4, I believe, and a son who is in year 6, or sorry, year 7 now, but she's an educator herself. So I always championed her and I said, you know what, your kids don't need what we're doing, they've got you. And she would be so creative. So I remember once she sent me a picture of a farm that she made out of junk modeling. And I was so happy that day to get that email from her, because I was like, oh, wow. And what she also did, which I loved, was she used corn to do like name writing with her son. So you can do like, which I loved. I thought that was, I would never have thought of that. And I loved it. I normally use shaving foam, or I use cotton buds to help children get those fine motor skills. But I loved her creativity. And even when she had an idea that I hadn't thought of, I then passed that on to my phase leader. So I love the way that my school did, especially for our young ones, I love the way that we did our online platform. Other schools, to me, their system was madness. But my school, I can't champion them enough.
That's brilliant.
Oh, my school's in Croydon. Yeah, Croydon, by the way. I forgot to add that.
That's okay. That's okay. So did the children actually, so how many days a week do they actually log on to this platform?
So they were able, so on a Monday, they had to log on so they could get the week's activities. And then it was optional whether they did the week's activities or if they dipped in and out. And then on a Friday, I believe they were asked to share their work and share their learning. And because we have several sites, their work was uploaded onto the website, and then the parents and the other children got to see all the lovely work that had been completed during the week. Because with early years, all our activities are very hands-on and creative. And it was lovely to see how the children use their imaginations. I think one of the activities was to remix Old MacDonald. And it was lovely to hear the children's creativity. Some children made musical instruments and then made up raps. And I just loved their creativity. It was amazing. I was really, really proud. And I had one parent who would always send me pictures. Actually, I had quite a few parents who would always send me pictures or just ask me for advice if they were stuck, because not all parents were quite familiar with how to access the online platform. But once they did get it and they had that support, they loved it. So my school, we were constantly in contact. So the teacher that I'm covering, she was available, I was available, the other early years teachers were available. So was the head teacher. If you needed him, he was available. And the other thing which we did, which was very useful, was you were able to communicate like on the online platform with other parents, which I think was very, very helpful. Because like you said before, some people just weren't familiar with online learning and online teaching. It was new to everyone. So I think we definitely should give ourselves a pat on the back. And, you know, a big shout out to all my parents that even though they found it hard, they still continued for their children. And they've done an amazing job. But I know they can't wait for the doors to open. I know they can't. I know. I'm desperate for the doors to open. I'm desperate to get into my classroom, to make it, you know, how I want it to be, and just get used to the new normal.
Yeah. Thank you. In terms of, it seems like in terms of engagement, your children engage. What was the attention like in terms of the attention and behavior? What was that like on the platform?
So at the beginning, the enthusiasm was great. Like children loved the learning, they loved the communication, they loved the wellbeing phone calls, speaking to us. But towards the end, towards the end of term, I could see that my children were flagging, and the parents started to call us more and say, look, this isn't working. Can we just, be a bit more relaxed? So I think they went from doing activities every day to just doing activities maybe every other day, or maybe just picking one activity and doing it as a family. So that family that I mentioned earlier, who has a mum who's an educator, I think for her, she could see that her children were starting to, have enough of being at home. So she did what I did with my daughter, which is outdoor learning. So for my daughter, we did went to the park and we did a bug hunt. It was something that I bought from the works, but you can make it yourself, which I normally do. But anyway, I bought it from the works and we did like a bug hunt. We counted the butterflies. So within that activity, children are getting that fresh air. They've been able to release any anxieties, burn off any energy, but also learning still taking place. Because like I said, you can never ever waste learning opportunities. So I did find for my daughter and for my cohort that I have at the moment, doing outside learning was what they found more beneficial towards the end. I think they just got fed up with being stuck in the house and doing the same activities. And just, after a while, they did have enough. So I did say to my parents, it's not set in stone. We are flexible, and your child. I said, I think that's another thing, that's the benefit of lockdown, of COVID-19. Parents have got to know their children. Yes. I know I've got to learn my child. I've got to learn her. I've had to learn her learning style, because at first I was thinking, hey, listen to me, I'm your teacher. But I had to remember, I'm not your teacher, I'm your mum. It was completely new to me. I had to learn Key Stage 2 rapidly. I'm used to maths, Debbie, where you do 1 + 1 is 2. But I had to learn some complicated maths quick time. I had to learn quick time. I was like, what is this method you're talking about? Because in my day, but I did learn it. And I did have to become a Key Stage 2 teacher very quickly. And that's another reason why I'm never, ever going to be a Key Stage 2 teacher, because I can't do it. I can't do it. I take my hat off to you guys. I will love my early years maths. I love my 1 + 1 because I know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to the maths that my daughter's doing these days. My daughter can do it with ease. So thank God the Lord blessed me with a child that is mathematically, she blows me away. The things she can do mathematically, I look at her and think, how have you done that complication, that method already? And I'm still working on it. So for example, I gave her a problem. Well, so a friend gave us a maths problem. It took me 2 weeks to solve. Her and my friend did it in 1 hour. Wow. I'm not embarrassed to admit. I'm not embarrassed, because maths is not my strong point. Like I said, I know that 1 + 1 is 2. And if I'm not sure what 1 + 1 is, I can get one pebble and another pebble. And that shows me that 1 + 1 is 2, because I've got 2 pebbles. That is my math. That is my math.
I'm not, Alicia, you need to move up. I'm not seeing you properly.
Oh, so there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting because your little ones were enthusiastic from the beginning, and as time go on, their attention span start dropping. But that is normal for that age group anyway. They're only little things. They're 3-year-old to 5-year-old. They're babies.
Exactly. Towards the end, I think one of my little boys, he's got a beautiful garden. So his mum just said she thought, forget the work, let's just go into the garden. And she's like I suggested, outdoor learning. And he loved it, because just like how with early years, you have an indoor provision and you have an outdoor provision. So I just said to her, just think of it as he's just going to spend time outside. And then we did have that lovely weather. So all my parents made use of it, and they did things like treasure hunts in the park. They did counting on the way to the park. They made resources, and they did things like picnics. Even things with taking a picnic to the park, you can incorporate maths. Cutting like making the sandwiches, that's a life lesson. Like a lot of my children have learned fundamental life skills from being at home. A lot of my children have learned about washing, about money management, things that I've got grown male friends can't even do. I've got kids that can now come in and tell me, oh, miss, do you know that a pint of milk costs so much? And if I gave the shopkeeper this money, I'm going to get this change. So there have been some benefits of the children like this young being off from school, because they've learned some amazing, amazing life skills that they can carry with them for a long time. So I think, definitely, brilliant. Like you said, it's natural for this age group. Towards the end, it was too much for them, because even for me, towards the end, I was thinking, come on, when some holidays arrive, because time was never ending. I really felt like time was never ending during lockdown. I would look at the clock and I'm thinking, it's still 9 o'clock. It's still 9 o'clock. And when I was writing my reports, time was going really quickly, even though I did them way in advance. But it felt weird. I guess there's that old age saying that things that you enjoy, time goes quickly. So I love writing my reports, even though I had to write. It was a different way of writing them, because I'm not used to writing reports from my head. I'm used to having their learning profiles and just something to help and guide me. But this year was completely different. And I did a really good job. When I got the feedback from my deputy head, it made me feel great that as much as I was scared to write reports from my head, I did a great job considering that I hadn't seen my class for so long, or not like how I wanted to. And reports weren't how I wanted to. But you know what? They still went out. Parents were still happy. And, you know, I'm proud that I was able to write them from my head. And I missed doing them. I even asked my colleagues if I could write some of hers. And she thought I was joking, but I was actually serious. And I did actually help them because I actually was that bored at one point that I wanted to do something with my life. And I loved it. Like, it's just that it's like a present to the parents, I feel, to let them know that their child has been amazing, they've thrived. And even through these difficult circumstances, we still saw some growth. And you know what? We know that next year, when my class that are in reception now, we know that we're going to do, especially my school, we're going to do all we can to support them. So for me personally, I bought a couple of books from the works. They're £3 at the moment, where you do self-esteem activities. So for me, for the very first 2 weeks, I'm going to do a lot of building up their self-esteem, developing their resilience, as well as the washing hands station that I've been asked to incorporate in my classroom. But I think, as well as stressing the importance of cleanliness, I think we also need to try and get back to normal, because these children deserve it. They've been through an experience that if adults can find difficult, we need to try and put ourselves into their shoes. How has a 3-year-old and how has any age group coped with COVID-19? So I think as educators, we've got a massive, massive job on our hands. So it links back to what you said, that people should just keep their comments to yourself, because your comments aren't going to help me in the classroom, okay? So keep them to yourself.
That is very true. And another thing is, when we go back to the classroom, we'll be dealing with the mental, emotional, social. Those are all the things we'll be dealing with before we actually even look at intellectual. Some of us may not even be able to look at intellectual for the next 3-4 weeks, because we'll be dealing with hygiene, the mental health issue, the emotional, how you see. One of the things that actually crossing my head now, which I'm going to ask you just now, is let me just look at this first. I need to remember that, because you see, it bugs me. How did you actually maintain a community in the classroom, on the platform?
It was very, very difficult, because I feel that we're from a culture now, not that, I don't know, for me, I grew up when I was at primary school, which is a long time ago. But pick up Miss Whiffen, who's still alive, by the way, everybody. She's not dead, even though, she's really, really old, but she's still alive. But anyway, I found that parents were very friendly, that you could say to so-and-so's mum, hey, pick up Alicia, pick up so-and-so, and that would be cool. But I found that in schools that I've worked in, the areas that I've worked in, you don't really have that sort of culture. So parents don't talk to each other. So I can't say, oh, hey, so-and-so's dad, do you know so-and-so's mum? Because I don't know, I just found that I haven't worked at schools like that. And I think we are part of a culture now where people don't really communicate and we don't share ideas. So I have found that when parents are friends, it's a great thing to see, because they support each other, they pick up each other's kids. But I've worked in schools where I didn't have that. I haven't had that community vibe. And my parents, it was very hard to try and say, oh, you know what, if you're struggling, why don't you call so-and-so's mum? I know, I'll ask if I can give out your number. It was very, very hard to keep that community spirit, because a lot of my parents, they don't really talk to each other. They see each other, they'll be polite, but they wouldn't ever go to each other's house for coffee. But I think that's just sort of a culture that we need to try and break. So, but I think, I don't know, I did have a lot of parents, like, when it was the school closures were first announced, I did have 30 in my class, and then slowly I went down to 7. So I did find that a lot of parents were cautious about their children coming to school. So I'm not even sure how it's going to work when we do go back. I know that I've got some parents who are desperate, but then I've got some who are very, very worried about their children returning. So I think it's going to be hard to maintain that community. But I'm hoping that the kindness that I've seen from strangers, that parents have also experienced that, and that maybe we can, as our school culture is very community vibes, I'm hoping that rubs off on the parents, and the parents can see how hard we've worked as a school and as a trust, that they'll work with us and we will get that community vibe back, because I think that will make a huge difference to our children. Because like you said, we've got a huge task on our hands, but my school, we're working together. And even now, like, We're constantly communicating with each other. We're constantly thinking, how can I do this to make it better? So my classroom is going to have what we call a snuffle station, which I'm not 100% sure, but I think what the phase leader means is like a station where they blow their nose. I'm not sure if I like that name, snuffle. I don't get it. But to me,
Oh
I
my.
don't want to make it a thing. I don't want to say to my class, hey, here's this. No, I'm going to approach it in a different way. Everyone's got their own style of teaching. So
Yes,
I
yeah.
hope she doesn't get offended. But I am going to obviously have a cleaning station, but I'm just going to do things my way because it is my classroom. And, I just feel that we're all going to be starting blind because normally I would be doing like visits to see the children, but obviously you can't do that. And we haven't done like Zoom meetings. Well, I think Zoom meetings did take place before the holidays, but what we are going to have is what I love is parents that are invited in with their child to see the new classroom because obviously the classroom is
Okay.
going to change. I'm not going to have as much provision. So my sand play has been taken away, I believe. And I think my water play, I'm not 100% sure. And also my Play-Doh provision has to change. So I normally have a Play-Doh table, which is really good for fine motor skills and to help, especially when children first start. They love Play-Doh, especially homemade Play-Doh. It's
Yep.
so easy. I normally do parenting classes where I tell parents, you know what, it's one of those activities you can do to bond with your child. So, but apparently that's going to change now. But so what's going to happen is children are going to have their own individual bag of Play-Doh with their name on, which will help with name recognition. And literally they'll play with that bag of Play-Doh. And then once it's been played with, it goes in the bin. I know some teachers who recycle it, but I never do that anyway. For me, Play-Doh is not something that you should be keeping and recycling. Who's got time for that? You just literally need to make sure that you do practice good hygiene. I think that's what it is. In my
Yeah.
classroom, I'm going to practice good hygiene. I'm not going to make my children into a set of OCD kids because it's not going to be good for them in the long run. I don't want them to be like how I was at the start of COVID, where I was, washing my clothes all the time. And I was thinking, hey, when someone looked at me, they were dirty. And I don't want that for my class. Like, it's not a good look. And it does make you, it does make you stand out and it does make your washing pile very, very high. So I am going to make sure that we do practice good hygiene, which we did anyway before this. Because whenever a child in my class would sneeze, I'd say, look, what do we need to do? And my children know. So with young children, I think it's going to be a lot of visuals and a lot of using the interactive whiteboard just to get them to understand about good hygiene and how the world has changed and how their nursery provision has changed. I don't think we should be going around putting extra pressures on them because we don't know what they've been through, especially the summer.
Yeah.
And this summer has been even harder. Summer for some children is not a nice time. For me, I loved the summer holidays as a child because it meant I could go to my nan's house and it meant that I could read and no one could interrupt me. But I know that in the areas that I work, being at home is not good for some children because they don't have that consistency. They don't have that consistent parent. They don't have that routine which children love. And even myself as an adult, I love routine. It makes a huge, huge difference in your life when you have routine. Yeah, most definitely. So I do know that, like you said, we've got a huge, huge task, but I think it makes a difference if your school has already put in place certain measures to help you overcome them. So for me, I'm always, as a teacher, trying to make sure that I update myself with what's going on. And I'm always buying the latest books because I just love books. And for me, the most important book I'm reading at the moment is How to Build a Child's Self-Esteem. I should have got it ready, but yeah, because I could showcase it. But it's really good. And another one I got was Tackle Your Worry Monsters. So we use book. You know it, Ruby's Worries. I love that book. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to probably do like an individual activity where I will have a class worry monster, and I'm also going to let the children make their own individual worry monster so that they can carry it around with them. And if they are worried, they can let me or my teaching assistant know so that I can be there for them, because that's what we need to do, especially for the younger ones that I work with. I just want to be there for them. I don't want to ever feel alone or to feel like, oh my God, this situation is worse than I thought. We just need to be there to reassure them and to build them up again, because it has been a very, very traumatic time for them.
Yeah, it is. It is very true. Another thing is, thank you for that. On the online platform, were you able to assess them? Did you have assessment or you didn't do any assessment?
No, in the end, we didn't do it. So we did what I was supposed to do, and I was supposed to do a end of term. Can't remember which one. I was supposed to do an end of term, but then in the end, when we didn't get to the end of term, they were like, "What's the point?" So all I've got for data is the first term. So
Right.
yeah, it was very, very hard to assess the children. I found that when I was putting their grades, well, not grades, but putting their where they were, whether they were expecting, sorry, I can't remember sorry, emerging, expecting, or exceeding. I
Mhm.
found it very difficult to grade my children because I thought I haven't seen them physically. So how can I say that
Yeah.
so and so can do this and Harrison can do that and Charlie can do that because I haven't seen them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us, I think that box got removed in the end. I'm pretty sure it did.
Mm.
Or we were told to just hazard a guess. And I was like, well, when I left them, he was exceeding, but who knows? Who
Mm.
knows?
Mm.
And the beauty of what I love about my role as well is I work with nursery in the mornings and then I go across to reception. So what I'll be able to see is I'll be able to go across and see my class, which I think will mean the world to them. And it's also going to make a world of difference to me. Because when you let a class go, you do worry. But at least with me, I'm
Yes.
going to get to see my class. And even though I am nervous about starting blind, because normally I would have met my new class by now, and I haven't done the meet the teacher, the meet and greet, I'm still excited to meet the children. I only know them on paper, but I just know that my school's method of doing things is nothing to worry about. It's something to be excited about. And you know what? It's just another challenge in life. You just need to rise above it.
Mm, that's very true. That's very true. Thank you. You did talk about your teacher student relationship because it seemed like, because you actually had them from the school, the teacher student relationship just continued on the online platform, right?
Oh no, definitely. And I think that made a huge difference. And I always say to people that you need to build up that teacher student relationship, that teacher people relationship from early. So for my class, what I liked was I'm a maternity cover. So what my school did was I came into the classroom once I had the interview and I was told I've got the job. I came into the classroom to do a handover, which took a month. At first, people thought we were they didn't, but at first, colleagues would say, why is this woman here? Why are we paying her? But there's a method to the madness, which I always say to people, don't watch what I'm doing. Me and my colleague, we knew I wanted to do a month handover because she had to get to know me, I had to get to know her, and
Yes.
we knew that a month was needed before she could go anywhere. Before I let her go and have her baby, I said, you need to make sure that I know these children inside out, back to front, just like you do, like Inside Out Boy. I need to make sure that I know if so and so's dad is so and so's dad, and who's this granddad that's coming. I
Yeah.
love to make sure that I know my children inside out. I want to know their backgrounds. I need to know. It's important. It's imperative as a teacher. If you care
Mm.
about your job, you need to know your children's backgrounds and what are their learning styles, what are their learning needs.
Yep.
So that's what we did, and it worked a charm. When I've done maternity cover before, teachers have just literally said hi, bye, and I'm like, hello, hello, and she's gone or he's
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah.
and it's made a huge difference the way that we've done it this time. So I
Yeah.
think my school will keep that approach because it's worked like a charm. And I
Mm-hmm.
did know my class, so it did make a difference when we had to switch to the online. Because even though I'd only been there for 2 months, you wouldn't know that. Like when I speak about my job, people are saying, like, are you sure you've only been there since January? I'm like, yeah, I had to think. I
Yeah.
do have to think, have I been there since? And it is true. I got the job this year, January. I got excited. I was like, yes, 2020 is going to be my year. But it's okay, 2021, because 21 is my lucky number. So 2021 is my year now. This
Yeah, but
year,
you see, 2020 is still your year because you actually gel with your student offline as well as online because you got to know them in the physical classroom. So, which means when you did the transition over to the online platform, life became easy because you knew what little Johnny liked, you know how
yes,
little Peter's learning style was because you had that time to gel with them. So it is your year because you know your student. And as you say, one of the best thing any educators could have or could do is knowing your students. And once you know them from the physical classroom on the online classroom, it's just a nice transition because you know what their learning style is. You know what they, some aspect of their like and dislike. You know the interesting thing about all of that? The parents were the one who did not know the children. Because I know
yes,
probably you had the same experience when you say to a parent, oh, you know your child likes so and so. my child don't like that. Yes, he does,
I know.
And it's like, no, I know my child. Really? Okay.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Exactly. They soon come back and tell you, you remember when you told me so and so, so and so? Yeah, you were right. You're not even saying I told you so. You just stand there and just smile sweetly. Because the fact is, we know the children more than they do. So COVID have actually forced parents to really know what the children was like.
Of course. And I had to learn about my child's learning style. I remember a lot of people like, oh, it's so good, your daughter's got you. And I'm like, hello, I know 1 + 1. I don't know this complicated math that she's bringing through the door. That's why she does homework independently. It's called independent learning for a reason. Don't ask me about math. If you ask me about money, I can tell you all day long. If you ask me how much money I've lent so-and-so, I can tell you down to the penny. But do not ask me about the complicated maths that these children are doing. Why? But yeah, it's so true. I had to learn her style. And at first I found it hard to teach her because I was thinking, hey, listen to me, listen up. But I can't be clapping at my child because that didn't work. The clapping method where you try to get them to be quiet, that works in the classroom, but it don't work when you're with your child. So I had to learn how to work with her, how to discipline her, and how, I had to learn her methods. And for me, what I did was I adapted the curriculum. So yes, she had worksheets from the school, but then I thought, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Why don't I just teach like how I do in early years? And I changed her layout, her day. So we started to do yoga, or we'd go for a run, or we'd do something to just set us up for the day. Or what was that man that was doing those workout things? I can't remember. There was a guy that was doing workouts, which we tried to, but we weren't into. Then she would do her maths, because I've always found that maths is best in the morning.
Yes, I agree with you.
We did our English, and one activity which she loved was I got her to design a recipe book, and also we watched a film which she thought was, hey, mummy's cool, mummy. No, mummy's not cool, mummy. You can watch a film and then you write a film review for me, baby girl. And I remember that day she was looking at me like, mummy, I thought, no, it's not just watch a film. It's never just watch a film. There's always a learning opportunity. She's laughing because she remembers that day. She remembers. I know you did it, Zana. Yes, she was like, mummy, what you doing? I was like, yes, here's your pen and paper. Get to writing. Call me when you've done your writing. So you had to learn your children's learning style. And I think once you did that, one of my parents especially, she realized how high energy her child is. I said to her, your child doesn't allow me to go to the toilet by myself. I said, I love your little boy. He's definitely one of my favorites. But I said to her, he is too much. He is high energy. From the moment I come in the morning, the little boy is on me. He's like, miss. And there's a game that he loves. And I always let him play it. But sometimes it's like, please just go outside and play. Please. I'm in the office for a reason. I'm in the office. The door is closed for a reason. But I can never say no to this little boy because I just love his enthusiasm for learning. And his mum, she had to learn his learning style. And she was like, you know what, Alicia? You're right. My child is too much. How do you think? I was like, I don't know. I said, your boy doesn't let me go to the toilet. I said, your boy makes me have to hold my bladder for 3 hours because I said, if I go to the toilet, he says to me, where have you been? What have you been doing? Why have you not been in the classroom? So-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. You weren't here to see it. I missed it. I was like, Josh, just breathe. Sweetheart, just breathe. But I absolutely adore him. He's got, I remember I wrote in his report actually, one day he made, he loves junk modeling, and he made a donut machine. And the little boy, Debbie, was able to explain to me for 30 minutes how he did the donut machine, why it was important, and why it was important that he got to take it home and it did not go on display. And when I told his mom, all she could do was smile from ear to ear. And I put that in his report. And I did that for all the children. I put their individual things that I remembered. And all the parents were very, very grateful that I did that, because I said, for me, reports shouldn't be generic. I shouldn't be putting that Billy, Tom, and Harry can write their ABCs. No, because Billy, Tom, and Harry can't do that. Billy, Tom, and Harry are different children. Billy, Tom, and Harry have different backgrounds. So I know that Billy can do his ABCs, but Harry can't even hold the pen. So I don't lie. I never, ever lie to parents, because when you send that home, parents are thinking, well, let me see if Harry can do his ABCs. And these times, Harry can't even pick up the pen. Parents are silly. So that's why I always say to my class, never, ever lie and never, ever cheat, because they never, ever win. That's one of our mottos. Cheaters never win. And I've got children that are still saying that to this day. When I see them, when I'm out and about, they say, Miss, do you remember one of your many catchphrases, along with go hard or go home, cheaters never win, and we must always try our best, and there's no such thing as mistakes. I was like, I'm glad you remembered. I said, because I got these I've learned from the many teachers that I've worked with, and also, like you said, my educators. I remember every single one. And definitely, I now know that even though I thought the teachers were old when I was younger, they actually weren't that old. That's why Miss Whitman is not dead. She's actually still alive, people, and she still teaches at Adamsville. Which I can't believe. She's still alive.
The thing about it, when you are young and little, when you see educators probably in their late 20s or early 30s, you think these people are old. But as you grow up, you realize, oh, they're still around. So which means they were not old when I thought they were old, right?
Exactly, but I didn't realize that. I actually thought Miss Whitman was Asian, but she was actually very young when I was at school. And
exactly.
She hasn't left the school. I don't know how long she's been there. She deserves a medal. She deserves a plaque. But she's still teaching and she still loves it. And I still remember Adamsville with fond memories. It was when I went to secondary school that life was like, oh my God. What's that saying? Is it little fish in a big pond? Yeah. And for me, secondary school was a culture shock. And I always give people this tip. Don't ever forget your home learning. Do not don't give in to peer pressure, because that's how bullies prosper. Yeah. Don't forget what your mum and dad have taught you, or your siblings. And it does help if you can say, my big cousin will get you. It does help if you've got that. But I never had that. Being where I've got like a massive age gap between myself and my brother, there's 10 years. I never had that backup to say, hey, I'll get my brother onto you. And I never had that big brother that I used to fantasize about to say, hey, my big brother will beat you up. So I always give parents tips when they go to secondary school. Just make sure you enforce what you've taught them at home, and just tell them that, just build up their self-esteem, reassure them, let them know that they're loved, and that don't ever make your child feel that they're unloved and that you don't value or respect their opinion. Because I found that if I'd had that foundation that I had from primary school instilled in me in secondary school, I definitely wouldn't have succumbed to the bullies. But because that wasn't instilled in me, because it wasn't, that's why the bullies were able to win. But I always say, you know what, I say thank you to the bullies, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have developed my strength. That was the start of me developing my strength. And I always say to people, actually, I'm happy that I got bullied. And people look at me like I'm a weirdo, but you know what? I'm happy to be a weirdo.
It's a lesson, right? It's like every negative experience, I constantly say to my student, in every experience, there is always positive. We just need to look for it. Sometimes we need to look harder for it than we would normally look, but it is there. Another question is self-care. How did you actually ensure that you were doing self-care? As I said at the beginning of the platform.
Yes, I remember.
My aspect of
me, self-care. I've always championed this. I've always said self-care is not selfish. I always tell people, if I'm not okay, my daughter will never ever be okay. So I always look after number one. I do believe in me, myself, and I. And what I did get back into was journaling. So, because I know that in years to come, that journal is going to be worth money. I'm like Anne Frank round here, people. My daughter and I, we kept a journal. So, I've mostly written in it. She's done like pictures, and we are going to do a book of our COVID experience. So for me, every day from the beginning of lockdown, I write in my diary, and it was just a nice outlet. And I also rediscovered old music. I did like a whole clear up of my home, and it was just nice to find knickknacks and things that I'd forgotten. And I am that teacher who's kept everything that any child's ever given me. So it was lovely to find a box of presents that I had from 2007 of homemade cards of when I was a teaching assistant in a special needs school. And I remember one of the ladies, Audrey, I think her name was, she wrote in the card, Alicia, you are one in a million. I'm so sad that you're moving on. Just know that you will never, ever stop being loved, and you'll always have a home at our school. And when I found that card during lockdown, I wept, and it made a huge difference. It made me realize that, yes, I am meant to be an educator. As much as I used to think, oh, why am I doing this? That moment, finding that, cheered me up no end. And it helped me to realize, you know what? I do love teaching. But it does have its down days. It's just like life. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I just would stay away at all costs from Key Stage 2. And also for us, no, go on.
No, it's interesting when you talk about the when you talk about the box of things students have made, it's interesting because everywhere you go, when you're leaving or during Christmas time, during Christmas time, you have a handful of things and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what would I be doing with all of this? And as you rightly say, you kind of keep, a lot. And I have found a box because actually I found a box day before yesterday. And I'm thinking,
oh, lovely.
Goodness. And I'm looking at all this and I'm sitting there trying to remember these students, what they look like. And it's like, sometimes when I make the card, everybody, like who couldn't write, whatever. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, you're right. It reminds you the reason why you do what you do. Because
of course,
there's nothing in it except when you read and thinking, oh my goodness, I remember this. Or you go down the street and you meet an ex-student and they say to you, hi, miss. Oh, hi, Debbie, do you remember me? And you're thinking, hell, I don't remember you. Can you remind me?
That is true. When I saw an ex-pupil, I taught him when he was in year 6. And then when I saw him with a baby, I was like, oh, has mommy had another baby? He was like, no, miss, it's mine. I was like, whose baby? What? I was like, when I taught you in year 6. I was like, what do you mean you're old enough to make baby? He's like, miss, it's been a long time. It's been a long, long time. And I was like, yeah, but you just made me feel ancient. I was like, what do you mean you've got baby? I said, I thought mommy had another baby. He's like, no, miss, calm down. He was like, look, I'm man enough to make a baby. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it did make me feel really old. And it just reminded me as well, my first ever class are now going to be in year 6, and that makes me feel ancient. I can't believe that my first ever class are now going to be year 6. I remember when they came into reception and they were so tiny, so cute, and now they're year 6. And one of them, I still speak to her mum, so it's lovely to hear from her and to hear that most of the children are still there. So I definitely will be going back, and I hope to be invited to their Leavers Assembly, which will happen next year. But I just find it incredible that how can they be year 6? Why, Debbie? Why? Why have they got older?
Isn't it interesting? It's so interesting. That's one of the beauty of teaching amidst everything else in terms of, when you're leaving the school or during Christmas time, or when it's holiday time, you have all this, you might have a plaque and you're thinking, what am I going to do with this? There's so many. They give you so many gifts and you look at it as that sometimes you ask yourself, what am I going to do with this? But then you also have to remind yourself, they're giving you something from their heart. They're not too sure, what they want you to do with it. It's just amazing. That's one of the beauty of teaching.
I prefer homemade gifts. I always prefer homemade gifts. I've got one that I can showcase that I can't remember who, but this was a present from one of my parents.
Okay.
And yes, and she actually makes things, and it says a teacher takes a hand, opens a mind, and touches a heart. And I love that. To me, that's like the most beautiful present. And I love the fact that, she gave me something personalized. To me, I prefer a homemade gift over a box of chocolates any day because I'm lactose intolerant, people. So stop giving me chocolates. I can't eat them.
It's nice. You're right. It is nice when a student actually make you a little card, and then you look at the card and you're thinking, "Oh, look at it." Teaching.
Yeah, I love that.
Teaching has its, its pluses. There's some, in terms of when students give you gifts, when they give me gifts around the holiday time or the Christmas time, they all know that, oh, Miss is gonna start crying because one of my last school when I didn't even expect them because I was just doing a cover and they all got, they all gave me a gift and I was just streaming and they said,
oh,
they're all coming and hug me. Sorry?
That's lovely.
Yeah, but it's it becomes very emotional as a teacher. You think, oh, you do feel, it touches you. That's one of the...
Oh, no, definitely.
It definitely does. You. And it's like, oh, Miss, we're going to miss you. It's quite nice because it actually makes you realize that, A, I have made the difference, that these students are really going to miss you and you've made an impact in their life, which in terms of jobs, very few job does that.
Exactly.
We know we don't get the pay to match it, but it's fine. When you actually know that you are planting the seeds. You know, their minds are like seeds, and their minds like the soil, and when you actually plant the seed and you start watering this plant, and you're actually seeing it's growing, it's germinating, it's blossoming. It's a wonderful thing being a teacher. That's
Oh,
the
most definitely.
beauty. That's the
Most
beauty
definitely.
of seeing, especially the young children you're teaching, when you know there is nothing there. And as they grow up, you're actually seeing, you know, you're seeing your work. It's beautiful. Teaching is
Oh,
beautiful.
definitely. I like my colleagues, they often go and see the children in year two, because what we do at my school is the year two children come and read to reception, and it's beautiful to see. Um, you get to see how the children have progressed. And there was one girl in particular who used to not listen, quite challenging, but now she's a model pupil. And they love to remind her to say, remember when you first came into the classroom, you were one of our most challenging. But for me personally, I love those. Give me a challenging pupil any day. I haven't met a pupil yet that I haven't been able to,
Turn around.
mold. And for me, I love those ones that are challenging. I love when teachers say to me, look, you've got this boy, he's come with this bag. I'm like, oh, great. I said, I don't mind. I said,
Yeah.
bring him to my classroom. I said, because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what he's been through, we can help him. I was like, we've
Yeah.
all been through trauma in our life. I said, why should
Yeah.
we write off a child just because they've been through what they've been through?
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it's such an important job that we have, and we don't get the credit, we don't get the recognition. And what I always say to my friends is, I get paid to be a big kid. A lot of my male friends, like one, for example, who came over recently, he was like, you need to stop talking to me like I'm a child. I was like, well, stop acting like one. He was like, no, Alicia, this ain't your classroom. He said, it's your house. He said, you actually do talk to me like I'm a child. I was like, and I realized, like, oh no, I am using teacher voice. He was like, Alicia, stop telling me to sit down, do this, do that. He was like, I'm an adult, I'm a man. He was like, come on. I was like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I genuinely didn't realize. And he was like, look, I've recorded you, and since I've stepped into your home, you've told me, take off your shoes, do this, your coat goes there. He was like, I feel sorry for kids in your class. But then I've got another male friend who said the sweetest thing to me. He said, if I had a teacher like you when I was growing up, I wouldn't have fallen to the wayside, and I wouldn't have ended up in certain institutions. He was like, if only, because he was like, he can see that I am that big kid. I do love my job, and I get paid to have fun. I said, especially with me working with the younger ones, I said, I get paid to be messy and to do all the fun things, and no one tells me off. I said, I haven't met a child that doesn't love my teaching style yet. I said, I love when I have those challenging children, like I mentioned earlier. To me, they're the best. And I also have a passion for special educational needs. If you tell me that your child's got a need, bring them to my classroom. Because for me, that's just a label, like we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
It's just a label. I don't tell people about my background, because I know that when I tell people that I've got a need, they're, oh, that makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. Don't judge me. Just because I've told you something personal, you shouldn't then think, that's not why. I've used my SEN to my advantage. And it's helped me no end. When I was first, I've never been officially diagnosed, but parents have recognized, and I do display traits of Asperger's and high functioning. Yeah, I definitely do display traits, and especially with my memory. Like, you can't commit a crime in front of me. You can't, and you can't lie to me, people, because I remember everything. But yeah, I always find that it's a benefit to me having a good memory, because I can go in as an agency teacher, and trust me, by the end of the day, I will know every class, every child in the class, and I can tell you who's Billy's mum, who's Billy's dad, and who's picking him up. And I remember when I was working at a school recently, they said to me, no, that's quite a good skill. I was like, yeah, it does help. I said, see, but if I told you straight off the bat that I had Asperger's, you would have judged me. I said, and I don't need people to judge me. Exactly. I said, because it's just a label. I said, that's all it is. And I tell all my parents, I've had children come into schools, and sometimes, yes, I'm not able to help them and support them with the resources that I have. But when I can, I do. But other times I've had to go to special needs schools, and I've worked in special needs schools, and I've loved it. Apart from the time that I worked in one, and nobody warned me that the poor boy that I was working with hates perfume. And Debbie, I love perfume. I put on about maybe 10 sprays before I leave the house, and this poor boy hated perfume. So obviously I step into the classroom, he grabs my hair, doesn't let go, I'm screaming in agony, and then the agency tells me, oh, Alicia, don't wear perfume, that boy doesn't like it.
Okay, I've learned that. Exactly.
But it hurt, Debbie, it hurt. I had braids and it hurt. I could feel my scalp like literally pulling. I was like, somebody help, please. But again, it's a funny story, and I do have a passion for special educational needs. I just love my job, even despite the media stick that we get, despite the comments I get from my friends. I just think, you know what? Your opinions don't pay my bills, and your opinions don't pay my wages either. So I just keep it moving. I don't ever engage in their comments.
And the situation is, the beautiful thing about it is, we are making a difference.
Most definitely.
We know we are making a difference. Educators out there, remember, when the going gets tough, remind yourself that you are making a difference. You have made a difference. It doesn't matter what anyone say, we know we're making a difference.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. 3 tips you are going to give us in terms of good practice from the online platform. What you would say to someone who is just starting the online platform. What 3 things you're going to say to them?
Well, for someone who's just starting an online platform, I would say familiarize yourself with the platform beforehand. For me, preparation is key. I am that teacher who will in December do her planning for whatever year. I just feel that preparation is important. So it doesn't matter. For me, I had to learn how to use Zoom that you saw from before. I had to ask my daughter, how did I do the audio? Because for me, I don't know anything about online teaching. So I had to learn Zoom and Google Meet. So definitely, please practice with your friends. Even if it's just messing around, like, please practice, because you don't want to be embarrassed, and it's not fair to suffer technical difficulties. Like, when you've done assemblies and you're there faffing. So definitely, that's my top tip. Whatever platform you're using, take the time to familiarize it. Don't think, oh, because I'm young or because, I know. No, nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything. We're always constantly learning. That's what I love about life. My other top tip, did you say like for just in general?
No, just linking with the online platform.
With online learning, I found, well, just like with early years teaching, I found that it helps, because I don't know what other schools do, but my school, our learning is based around a theme or based around a book. And I think that makes a huge difference, because when you've got like a book, like say, for example, one of my favorite texts to use at any time of year, and you can always swing it, is Hand as Hen, and also the other one, Hand as Surprise.
Hand as Surprise,
because Debbie, you can get so much out of that. So much learning opportunities. So I always find learning around a theme and also learning around a book, a text, makes a huge difference to my teaching. And when I've got something that I can just base an idea off of, it makes a huge difference to me, because then I can bounce ideas. I can think, hey, I've done this idea before. Should I repeat it or should I not? And my other top tip is know your class, know them inside out and back to front, because not every child learns the same. I'm a visual learner. I like multi-sensory learning. Whereas my daughter, she's more of an auditory learner. She doesn't want you to show her how to do it. She wants you to tell her. And I found that for me, I'm a big reader, but my daughter doesn't like doesn't like to sit and read a book. She can, but she prefers if you read a book to her, or she loves audiobooks. But me, I'm not touching an audiobook. I don't like audiobooks. But I've got children in my class that love it. So they're my top 3 tips. Please learn your platform. Please know your children inside out. And to help your teaching, it does sometimes help if you've got a theme to base your teaching off of, and your lessons, and also a book. I found, what's that? What's it? Is it POWER? No. Is it CLPE? I can't remember that organization. Is it CLPE? They teach you how to use text, and how one text you can have it for a whole term. I think it's CLPE.
Okay.
That's what it's called. They're an organization which is based near Borough, I believe. And basically they teach teachers how to use a text, and how a text can then be used as cross-curricular links. And that's what I love about using a text. I found it hard when I've gone into a school and they say to me, do what you want. I'm like, hello, what do you mean do what I want? I think it makes a huge difference when you've got a plan. And obviously, of course, plans can change. Of course, I know the world's changing. And of course, I know things change. So yes, please do adapt. But it's important that you know your learners, because for me, knowing my class inside out makes a huge difference, because I know that Harrison likes this. I know that Joshua likes this. I know that Angelina likes this. It makes a huge difference. And I think that's definitely what, because I know some schools are going to continue with online platform, which I think is lovely.
Yeah, I think it's lovely too.
Yeah, my friend's school, they're not gonna, they've decided to continue with online. And at first I thought her school was crazy, but now that she's learnt the platform, like I said, now that she is familiar with her teaching style and she's more confident, she actually loves it. She actually loves it. And for me, myself as well, I now do understand how to do the audio on Zoom. I don't have to ask my 9-year-old. I do actually know how to do it. But don't tell anyone that I actually did need her help.
I thank you for that. As you rightly say, in terms of the online platform have actually innovated us as educators.
Plus, definitely.
It have actually taken differentiation to another level. It also have given students the ability to do whatever type of learning style they've got, to be able to express themselves, because as we know, the physical classroom wasn't allowing us to do that, but the online platform really allowed us to be innovative and creative. And as a result of that, our students are presenting to us in all different formats. And they're actually using the true learning style, whereas in the physical classroom, we were not able to do that. On the online platform, the students are now able to use all the learning style as effective as possible. And it's wonderful. That's why I really do wish that most schools would do the online platform instead of going into the physical classroom, because I do not feel that this physical classroom, there's enough preparation for that.
No, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, I also don't feel that the heads in the physical classroom know what to expect or what to do, etc. Because I am being told that we are going full on. Full on? Really? How are we going to go physical distance in a class of 30?
Yes, like my daughter's school, I don't like how basically they're going back en masse on the 7th of September. Yeah, I think that's crazy talk. Crazy talk. Whereas my school, we're doing staggered starts, because especially with reception and with nursery, you can't all come back on the same day. It's not right. Children have to get used to the classroom and to the new classroom. So like I said before, the way my school has dealt with COVID-19 is phenomenal. And their model is a model that other people could learn a lot from. When all my friends were like, oh, your school's full, your school's this, I'm like, okay. I was like, you'll just see us on the news then. I said, don't worry about what my school's doing. I loved my school's approach, and I will keep championing my school's approach, because I finally found a school that puts the children at the center. We're not doing our job for stats. We're not doing our job so that people can say, hey, we're top of the league. We don't care if we get children that can't speak a word of English, because we know what we do for each and every one of our children. I've got children in my class that sometimes they might not even have clothes or whatever. So then, you know what? As a school, we'll go and make sure they've got school uniform. Never ever in my school will children go hungry, or will they ever struggle. Like, they have supported families no end. Another thing which I must champion about my school is, at the beginning, because we work in an underprivileged area, there were families that obviously were going to go hungry. So they made food collection boxes, and they also made, like, I think packages of like care packages. And I loved that, because I remember when I was in primary school, the harvest time, you'd go to the old people's home. And I didn't hear about that happening again until I introduced it in a school that I used to work at. And I thought, what's happened to the community vibe that we spoke about earlier? Why don't we have that? But my school, definitely, we do have that. But I think we just need to let more parents embrace it and stop thinking that, we're a culture where, you're on your own. We're not on our own. We can break generational curses. We just need to move with the times, because change is something that's going to happen whether you like it or not. I remember my parents not understanding how maths had changed from their day. And I used to struggle with maths homework. So that's part of the reason why I can only do 1 + 1, is because my parents would teach me their method. I'm thinking, love, what are you doing, mum? I don't understand. What are you doing, dad? You're frustrating me. You're shouting at me. And that don't help. As soon as you start shouting at me, I check out. So my dad could shout till kingdom come. And I was thinking, love, are you getting out of my room now? Because I'm bored and you're annoying me. So I had to learn maths on my own. And in the end, I just thought, you know what, let me just be in bottom set because that's where all the cute boys are. But that's not what you should do, people. I did go to bottom set maths because I thought, hey, the cute boys hang out there, so that's where I'll be. And because, yeah, I find that because parents aren't given the tools to help their children, I think more schools should do what my school does. They have like open mornings where you can learn the latest phonics, you learn the latest math, and that makes a huge difference. And I always like, what I do personally is I give out phonics information, because I know when you say phonics to some people, like even to my friends, even though they've got kids, I say, oh, so mate, are you doing phonics with so and so? And some of my friends will look at me like, what's that, Alicia? I'm like, love, do you not go to parents' evening? Do you not go to parents' evening?
Yeah.
So I think it makes a huge difference when you know what's going on in the classroom and just work with the teacher. I think when you have that beautiful parent-teacher relationship, it makes a huge difference. And that's why I always establish. That's why I love doing home visits, or if you do classroom visits. I think it makes a huge difference because you get to know each other and you can just let go of any anxiety, especially when I've got parents sometimes, it's their children's first experience of school. So you have to be mindful of that. I was very nervy parent. I remember I probably still do annoy my daughter at school, but I don't care because she's in your care for more than she is in my care. So look after her. She's precious cargo. When I get head bump letters, when I get head bump phone calls, my heart drops and I just think, hello, people, why are you not looking after my child? So it does make a huge difference. I think when you establish those boundaries and you establish that relationship, it makes a huge difference. That parent-teacher relationship and that parent-pupil relationship, when you work in partnership together, it does make a huge difference. And we can see that. I can see that in my children. I love my class and I'm looking forward to going back. I can't wait. I literally cannot wait to just get into my classroom. And I'm looking forward to our first planning meeting, actually, because there are a few things that I'm going to suggest that we need to change, and I hope it's okay. But I can't voice them till the 1st of September, unfortunately. But I am going to write down my ideas, and hopefully I'll be heard, and then we'll see. We'll go from there. I think together we'll be able to get through. Like you said, it's about working together and just ignoring the media, ignoring the people that don't know about our job. Because like we said earlier, I'd never go and tell a plumber or electrician what to do because one, I'd electrocute myself if I spoke to an electrician, and two, I would never go be a plumber because I know I can't tell him what to do. I'd never ever. Just a quick example. One of my friends, he's a scaffolder, and when he first came to my flat, he was like, "How do I find it?" And I said, "It's the one with the brown bricks." He was like, "Love, all the houses have brown bricks, but there's a house that has yellow bricks." He was like, "Which house has yellow bricks?" I was like, "Honey, I don't know." So the bricks, he was like, "Honey." And then in the end, I had to go and meet him on road. And then I found him and he was like, "Alicia, these bricks are yellow." And we argued for 20 minutes. And then by the time he came inside, I was like, "You know what? I want you to go home." And he was the same friend who I mentioned earlier, who was like, "You're speaking to me like a child." I was like, "Because you are a child." I was like, "You're arguing." But he was like, then he said, "Stop." He was like, "I don't ever tell you how to teach, do you? Do I? So why are you telling me about bricks that are yellow, that are brown?" And he was like, "Alicia, just stop." And that's like, goes back to what we said. We would never, ever go and tell someone about their profession because we don't know it. I stay in my lane. I know about teaching. I know about psychology. I know about child development. That's why I'm passionate about these topics and I'm passionate about teaching. So when people love to say to me, "Oh, you're just talking." No, I'm not just talking. I've lived it. I've experienced it. And especially my career, I could write a book. I could definitely write a book in my short, even though it's only been 7 years and that's quite short. Well, for me, it feels quite short, but yeah, it's been a turbulent 7 years, but I still want to change it for the world because I finally found the right school for me.
Yes, exactly.
And I love it. I love my school.
Yeah, it's thank you for that. It's interesting because when we look in terms of teaching, as I always say, I am passionate about teaching, and I have found people who are not passionate about teaching. That's the reason why I always say, if you're not passionate about what you do, it is time to move out of it. And you need to stop looking at it as it is paying the bill. That is not good enough to remain.
I hate that excuse, Debbie. I hate that when people say that to me. "Oh, but it pays my bills, Alicia. It pays my..." No, go. The door's that way.
Exactly. And I think it is wrong when people are saying that they're in a certain job because it pays the bill. It is because they're so fearful of leaving and fearful of the unknown. That's the reason why they're
Of
not
course.
taking the plunge. But you do need to leave something that doesn't fool you. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Alicia. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody. In terms of, thank you guys. Remember to share, like, and comment. And as I said, that education is not for everyone. Someone said on the platform a few weeks ago, education, being an educator is not for the faint-hearted, right?
Yes, I like that.
You need to be strong enough to become an educator, because there's not always fun. It's not always something fantastic. In Alicia's job, as she rightly said, she is dealing with runny nose people, little people with runny nose, right?
And children that wet themselves and wet themselves.
Exactly.
And number two.
Yeah, it's like all of that. So when people are saying, oh, who educators think they are, why they don't want to go back to school, and the list go on, because we're teaching a very different client group. You know, stop comparing us with all the other professions out there, because you will not tell a doctor what to do. So why do people feel that you want to tell us what to do? Everybody always feel that they are an educator. Hell no, you're not.
I love that.
Supporting your child on the online platform, you know, you are saying that you're homeschooling. No, you have not been homeschooling. Homeschooling means that you're writing the curriculum to fit in with the national curriculum. And you all have not been doing that. You have been finding easy way to teach what we send home with your children. So you are not homeschooling. You are supporting your child with the education. Please don't get it mixed up, because homeschoolers have to write the curriculum in line with the national curriculum. In the same way, educators have to write the lesson plan and write the scheme of work from the national curriculum. That's the same way people who are homeschooling the children do. That's not what you've done. So please don't get it mixed up. Right.
No, most definitely.
I am not moaning. I am not complaining. I'm just
stating facts.
Exactly.
We're stating facts.
We're just stating the fact, which some of you are not fully aware of. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Have a fantastic day, morning, evening, night. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another with another educator around the world. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.